For one season in NASCAR, Tim Richmond was on top of the racing world. After spending many years as NASCAR's flashiest personality, he'd finally break out, winning 7 times and finishing 3rd in the standings in his debut season for Rick Hendrick in the 25. But that would end up being the last full-time season of his NASCAR career, as he tragically passed away after making just 8 more starts in NASCAR 3 years after this season. Tim Richmond was born on June 7, 1955, in Ashland, Ohio, where he would start driving go-karts as a toddler, later racing at tracks around him. His first time driving an actual race car wouldn't come until the age of 21 for him though, when he joined a friend of his father's sprint car team as a crew member for Dave Shoemaker in 1976. That year, Richmond took the car into Lakeville Speedway for some practice laps, asking for someone to time him, eventually running laps faster than Shoemaker, in his first time ever driving a real race car. Following this, Richmond and his father would go out and purchase a sprint car for him to drive, but Richmond would end up crashing the car in each of the starts he made, leading to his own father firing him ahead of the 1977 season. However, no love would be lost between the two, as he would instead buy Richmond a super modified car, in hopes that it better fit his driving style, later winning both Sandusky Speedway's Rookie of the Year and Super Modified Class Track Championship that year. In 1978, he returned back to sprint cars in the USAC series, running in 12 races and earning Rookie of the Year honors. The next year, his father bought an IndyCar chassis and engine for the race at Michigan, where Richmond qualified 21st fastest with the 175 mph lap, being 28 mph off Bobby Unser's 203 mph pole lap, backing up his qualifying effort in the race by having his motor blow up on him on the 4th lap, leaving him in last place. For 1980, Richmond would enter the Indianapolis 500, even setting the fastest practice speed of the month, but missing out on the pole after crashing on the morning of qualifying in a practice crash, ending up starting 19th for the race. He worked his way up into the top 10 during the race, even leading a lap, and eventually finishing 9th due to him running out of fuel at the end of it, but still earning Rookie of the Year honors for the race. Richmond would transition over to NASCAR after then president of Pocono Raceway Joseph Mattioli III convinced him to make the change to stock car racing, later making his debut at Pocono on July 27, 1980, finishing 12th in the DK Ulrich Chevrolet number 40 car. Richmond made 4 other starts for the team in 1980, DNFing due to mechanical issues twice, while finishing 12th in his other 2 appearances. For 1981, Richmond returned to the team, swapping over to the 99 entry instead of the 40, but would end up leaving after just 15 races and 3 top 10s to drive for Kenny Childress, eventually leaving Childress also after just 8 races and finishing out the season driving the 37 for Bob Rogers, with the best finish of 9th in 7 races at Dover. When 1982 came around, Richmond was left without a ride, failing to make the Daytona 500 for Mike Lovern before getting another chance for the team at Rockingham, completing just 112 laps and retiring from the race with an engine problem. Following that, Richmond was hired to drive JD Stacy's number 2 car, where he would go out and earn his first career top 5 finish at Darlington in his first race for the team, finishing 5th. 3 more top 10s over the next 6 races gave him momentum, entering the track where he made his NASCAR debut. And upon his return to Pocono, he'd earn a career best finish of 2nd, backing it up the next week by winning his first race in NASCAR, coming at Riverside, eventually sweeping the races there for the season, after he would win the finale for 1982. In 1983, Richmond began racing for Raymond Bedell in the number 27, collecting his first career oval win that year at Pocono.
A day to remember for this boy. I guarantee you he can hear everything in that car vibrating right now.
As he comes down, he said when he took it off the truck, this is going to be my weekend, and it is his hour. Tim Richmond wins the Light Cola 500 at Pocono International Raceway. 2nd is Walton, and 3rd will be Bobby Allison.
Richmond's season would be marred with DNFs, only finishing 17 of the 30 races, and in those 17 races he finished in the top 10 15 times, for a 10th place points finish. For the first time in his career, he returned to the same team full-time for his 2nd season, and again he captured 1 win, this time coming at North Wilkesboro, while also managing to cut his DNF total down from 13 all the way down to 12, as his team still suffered many mechanical issues week in and week out. 1985 saw Richmond's team swap his crew chief from Tim Brewer to Barry Dodson, cutting his DNF total from 12 all the way down to 7, but seeing Richmond fail to win a race for the first time since 1981. But this would all change in 1986 for him, as he signed on with top team Hendrick Motorsports to drive their number 25 entry full-time, while also beginning to show the Hollywood side of his personality.
And Richmond he's everywhere from Hollywood to New York having a big time. And he lived on a boat in Fort Lauderdale, had a condo in New York. Now that would fit right in today, but it didn't work too good in '86.
I could just as well live in a tent someplace, but I'd rather, if I had the money, to live on some yacht someplace and have maybe a Learjet.
However, things wouldn't be an immediate success for the new combination, as it would take him 11 races to earn his second top 5 of the year. But after that, he went on a tear, finishing second at Riverside and winning his first race with Hendrick at Pocono the very next week. His streak would continue after a 15th place run at Michigan, earning back-to-back wins coming at Daytona and Pocono, before a runner-up at Talladega, a win at Watkins Glen, and another runner-up at Michigan, rounding out his streak with another set of back-to-back wins at Darlington and Richmond to bring his season total to 6 and put him up to second in the standings. However, this mid-season charge wouldn't be enough to catch Dale Earnhardt for the championship, and he left the 1986 season with one more win at Riverside and a goal for 1987.
I want to come back and finish first and feel what it's like. Earnhardt's in a real good mood this week, and it must be due to that, and it's a nice change in him, I can't wait for next year, 87.
Sadly, he'd never get a chance to see this goal through, after he'd end up feeling ill around the time of the 1986 NASCAR banquet in New York, later being sidelined to begin the 1987 NASCAR season after a lengthy hospitalization in Cleveland, with speculation that his condition was double pneumonia, later coming out that he had contracted AIDS. He'd return back to NASCAR in that year's Winston, qualifying second and ending the night in third place. But the first 2 points races of his comeback would see him capture impressive wins in each of his starts, later being the last wins of his career.
There's a look at Richmond, 32 years of age. Could the comeback be complete, Eli? Could he take a checkered flag and win it? What a tearful celebration that's going to be. Richmond less than a half a mile from victory.
If he wins, it would be the third straight victory for him here at Pocono. The crowd waving Richmond with the hand out of the window. And Tim Richmond has picked up the victory in the Miller High Life 500 here at Pocono. Bill Elliott is second, Kyle Petty third.
I'm very happy, Tim Richmond, with a Cinderella story and a Cinderella ending, Tim, and you have to be happy with what happened there. Did you ever really think that this could be possible with everything that's happened?
Well, yeah, I did. Feel a need for speed, huh? Thanks, Harry. Yeah, I really did. When you've got this good equipment sitting under you.
Maybe 10, 15 degrees, a third of a mile around. Tim Richmond going after win number 2. When he crosses the finish line, Tim Richmond will be 2 for 2, batting 1,000 in 1987. Here comes Tim Richmond. He's a winner again. Amazing story.
2 in a row. Should we just stop running these races, just give you the trophy from now on?
Well, I'd like them to average out my 2 Winston Cup races I've run this year and let me have the points that I would have had from the beginning, and then we'll go for the championship, maybe.
Tim Richmond's final NASCAR start would come 6 races after his final win, coming at Michigan, where he'd qualified 25th and later blow an engine, bringing an unexpected end to his driving career, as he'd resigned from Hendrick following this race.
He disappeared from the racing scene again, abruptly dropped by his team and apparently out of the stock car game. And I think that has to be the opening question that we asked Tim Richmond today. Are you out of the stock car game?
Well, I don't believe I'm out of the stock car game, and let me clarify one thing. I resigned from Hendrick Motorsports. I didn't, as some have written about, I was not fired or released. I resigned myself.
Why?
The main thing why I resigned was I didn't want to have to, I don't want to say let them down again, but they were counting on me at the beginning of that season. Because of the pneumonia I had to back off. They had to change horses in the middle of the stream. It was when they put Benny in the car. And then when I started getting pneumonia the second time, I said, I can't have people counting on me until I know for sure that I'm going to, continue on and not have to back out.
Richmond would attempt a comeback in 1988, but would not be allowed to race after failing NASCAR's new drug test.
Some say those rumors led to NASCAR's decision to implement a drug testing program for 1988. Tim, do you have a drug problem?
I'm sorry, but that question has been asked more than once here, more than once by everybody, and I am not answering that question. I am going to let the drug test in Daytona answer it, and NASCAR can answer it for y'all. And if they don't answer it the right way, then I'll have my little bottle, and there will be another answer there. Because I know whether it's dirty or whether it's clean, and it is clean.
Tim Richmond eventually ended up passing his drug test and being reinstated into NASCAR later in the year, but was unable to find a ride. And on August 13, 1989, Tim Richmond would lose his battle with AIDS, passing away at the age of 34.
He was an enormous talent, whose odyssey of life details are not completely known yet. And it's unlikely that he ever imagined getting old. It's a dilemma he'll never have to worry about, like the rest of us, unfortunately.